Morning. Scott could not be here this morning. He was excited he gets to go help Travis and Amanda move. That's what he's doing this weekend. I'm sure he's loving that. So he had asked me to teach, and me and Brother Bill took turns telling him no. And Bill won, so I'm up here this morning. So this morning we are continuing, we're going to look at Matthew chapter 5. So this is the Beatitudes. And I touched on this a few weeks ago when I did the lesson on salt and life, the next section in Matthew. Let's go ahead and read through the passage this morning. Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. And seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain. And when he was seated, his disciples came to him. Then he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they revile you and persecute you, and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this congregation, Lord, that we can come together and study your word. God, we thank you for the scripture which preserves the words of Jesus, Lord, so that 2,000 years later we can see what our Savior taught and preached. We pray that you will be with us this morning as we study your word, Lord. Help us to learn from your word and we'll learn from one another. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So the Beatitudes are, talks a lot about the word blessed. And in the Greek, and in the Bible, in the New Testament, there's more than one Greek word that is translated to the word blessed. This particular one, the translation is really more along the lines of something that means happy or to be admired. And so when he's talking about blessed, he's talking about being happy. So the lesson this morning is really about happiness as defined by God versus happiness as defined by man. And I know Scott taught on this a few weeks ago, so I'm going to try not to do the exact same lesson. So the worldly definition, what's the worldly definition of happiness?
Having fun.
Having fun. What else? Getting everything you want. So the worldly definition of happiness, to me, I sum it up in the word abundance. It's an abundance of whatever it is that you want. It's an abundance of family, it's an abundance of friends, abundance of money, abundance of food. It is nice cars, a big house. To some people it's drugs, it's alcohol. There are all kinds of things that this world tells us will make you happy. All of those things are in contradiction to what God says makes us happy. So God's definition of happiness is not about things that are in the moment, not about the sins of this world. Some of the things that we talked about, drug abuse, sex outside of marriage, divorce, all those things are things that you get caught up in the moment. And the world tells you you'll be happy if you do these things. Those are not the things that God says are happy. It's not about enjoyment. God doesn't tell us that we should enjoy everything that we do on this earth. God's definition of happiness is about being content, being happy with whatever this world throws at you. We'll look now at Philippians chapter 4. Verses 11 through 13. Philippians 4, 11 through 13. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you have been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. So Paul showed us what it means, what the biblical example of happiness is. He talks about being content. And we can do that no matter what our state of life is. He talks about money. He's been content with very little money. He's also been content with a lot of money. And this world will tell you money buys you happiness. We know that's not the case. If you look at a lot of people that have money, they're tempted by different things. They have an abundance of money, so their temptations are other things. A lot of times it's drug abuse and alcohol abuse. Can you say you're content in all circumstances? As a Christian, can you say that in everything you do, you find contentment? Not in the moment, but understanding that what we're doing, what we're going through, whether it be happiness or sorrow, can you say that you're content in the moment? When I think about this lesson, I think about when I went to Cuba. So one of the things I look at is, for us, are you content when you go out to eat and your waiter or waitress is not good? Your food is slow to get there. In our country, we get frustrated with that. But if you go to Cuba, you look at the opposite end of that. When we go to Cuba, we buy them meals, and we have meals at church, we have lunch, and the meals are nothing extravagant. It's literally a piece of bread, a piece of ham, and a piece of cheese. And we have some of the elderly ladies in the congregation that will cut their bread in half, or only eat a portion of their bread, and they'll take it home because that one piece of bread, one piece of cheese, and one piece of ham is their dinner as well. Because it's better than the rice and beans that they eat every single day. So contentment has nothing to do with your financial situation. These people in Cuba are probably way happier than we are here. They are very happy people. So let's look at verse by verse. Let's go back to the scripture and kind of examine it verse by verse. So the first verse, and seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain. And when he was seated, his disciples came to him. So one of the things that, as you do research, it's constantly pointed out is Moses. When Moses went to get the law, where did he go? Up on a mountain. And so here Jesus is. Jesus has come, and he's going to have a sermon. He's going to explain the word. He's going to teach the word, teach the law. And he goes up on a mountain. He also says, in the following passage, we're not going to go over it this week, but Jesus says he's not here to abolish the law. He's not here to abolish what Moses did. He's here to fulfill it. Verse 2, it says, then he opened his mouth and he taught them, saying. And so in this verse, talking about this is a teaching of Jesus. And so when I look at these verses, when I read these verses, a lot of times I don't personally look at them as teaching. To me, I always kind of look at it as a statement or statements. And I think it's really probably just the translation and how my mind processes it. But as he reads through, blessed are these people and these people, I always look at it as, well, that's those set of people, and that's those set of people, and that's those set of people. And what he's really doing, he's teaching us, he's telling us, blessed, meaning happy. You will be happy if you do these things. One of the things I saw as I was researching said, it's named the Beatitudes, and that means this should be your attitude. So as we look through these things, these should be your attitude. These are the qualities that we should exhibit as Christians. Verse 3 says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So when he talks about poor in spirit here, what's he talking about?
Not conceited, not thinking you're all that in a supersized value meal.
So he's talking about humility, not being conceited, not being arrogant. The poor in spirit, those who are humble. We've got several verses in the Bible that talk about humility. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 4 says, humility is fear of the Lord. Its wages are rich and honor and life. Proverbs 11 and verse 2, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. So this humility that Jesus is telling us to have, we are to be humble, we're not to be conceited or be arrogant. We learn in Proverbs that the result of that is wisdom. And we'll see that in a later passage. Also, Zephaniah, talking to Judah, in Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 3 says, "Seek the Lord, all you humble of the land, you who do what he commands. Seek righteousness, seek humility. Perhaps you will be sheltered on the day of the Lord's anger." And so Zephaniah here is preaching to Judah, trying to get them to come back to God. And he tells them to seek humility. In James chapter 3, verses 13, when James was talking about two kinds of wisdom, a lesson we've done not too long ago, and Brother Butch also did a Sunday night lesson on it as well. James 3:13 says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom." So humility, he's talking about humility here. And this verse, again, points out that humility brings wisdom. That wisdom that comes from God comes when we humble ourselves in his sight. He's talking about a servant's heart, putting others before yourself. Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 through 5. "Do nothing from rivalry or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus." So again, we see humility here. We see it not being arrogant, but we also see it as reaching out, helping those that are in need, having a servant's heart, and not looking out for your own interests. Verse 4, back to Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." And so this is one that kind of sounds like a paradox or an oxymoron. How can you be happy when you're mourning? What does it mean?
According to this, I don't know, but according to the commentator, you mourn for the loss and the fact that there's sorrow for others.
Okay. So did Jesus mourn? Do we see Jesus mourn ever? Who did Jesus mourn for? Lazarus. So Jesus mourned for Lazarus. Why did he mourn? Why did Jesus mourn? Why did he weep? Because he cared about him, right? He cared about Lazarus. He cared about not only his spiritual soul, but he cared about his body, his family. He cared about everything about Lazarus. We also see Jesus mourning John the Baptist. So why do we mourn? Why did Jesus mourn? Dana got it, but also it's because we care about somebody, whether it be their physical body, their physical well-being, but we also mourn, as the book said, for their spiritual state. We mourn for those who are lost.
He also mourned for Jerusalem.
Right. He also mourned for Jerusalem. Those who are living a life of self-indulgence, sin, money, drugs, party, drunkenness, pornography, sex outside of marriage, whatever sin comes to your mind, those people tend to really not care about other people. When Satan gets a hold of you and pulls you away from God, he tries to redefine happiness for you. He tries to give you the world's definition of happiness, which is all about instant gratification, all about what can I do for myself, what can I do to serve myself, what's going to feel good now, what's going to be good for me now. I'm not thinking about the future. In verse 5, he says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." So meek is defined as someone who is quiet, someone who is gentle, someone who is submissive. The book says that a meek person is one of mild disposition and can be counted on to act purposefully, thoughtfully, and kindly. Meekness is a quality of being hard to insult, of treating others with respect. So when I think of meekness, there are several people in our congregation that come to mind. Sunday school teachers especially. We've got several Sunday school teachers back here. I won't name names, but when I think of being meek, I think of a lot of our Sunday school teachers. They're very quiet, they're very reserved, but they also go and teach children's classes. They're very willing to help out. This is the attitude that Jesus talks about later on in Matthew chapter 5. Verses 38 through 42. I don't think that's right. Because I'm in Mark, not in Matthew. Matthew chapter 5, verses 38 through 42. You have heard it said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. If someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who asks, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. So this is the meekness that Jesus is talking about. He starts off in the Beatitudes in the first part of the sermon, talking about what's going to make you happy, what are the qualities that make you happy, and that is being meek, being submissive, turning the other cheek. So he goes on and he explains it later on in the sermon, what it means to be meek. So he says, the people that are meek, they shall inherit the earth. And I think this is something that's hard to do. Talks about helping others. And it's really hard for me when I'm in downtown Chattanooga. There are a lot of people that want handouts, they want money, or they want food. And I've not always been the best in doing that. I've got a friend who always does. He'll always give them $1 or $2 or whatever they want. So that's something I've challenged myself to do more lately. When somebody asks something of me, I try to make it a point to go do something to help them. And hope that normally they'll let me buy them food rather than give them money. But when I have the opportunity to do that, that probably helps me out more than it helps them. So that is the quality of meekness that sometimes I think is hard for us to do. Verse 6, he says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. So he says those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Why does he not say, blessed are the righteous? Is there a difference? What's the difference?
Being hungry for it.
Actively searching? What do you say, Mark?
Being hungry for it, the word.
Being hungry for it, you're looking for it. Righteousness, I talked a little bit last Sunday night. We're only made righteous by God, through Christ. God only sees us as righteous through Christ. We are not righteous in and of ourselves. And so Jesus is telling us, I understand that you're not going to be righteous, but if you will hunger and thirst for righteousness, even though I'm going to be the sacrifice for you, and God's going to see you as righteous through me, you still need to strive on your own to do the right thing. You need to strive to be the kind of person that other people look up to because you're always doing the right thing. Something we know that we'll never achieve it, but it's something we should always hunger for and thirst for. Any other thoughts on that passage, on that verse? Okay, going on to verse 7. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. So what does it mean to be merciful? I think a lot of times people get mercy and grace confused. What does mercy mean?
Show restraint.
Show restraint. Mercy is basically not giving somebody what they deserve, right? You're not giving them something that is based on their action. You're having mercy on them and giving them, being nice to them when you shouldn't be, because they've sinned against you. We see examples of mercy in the Bible. Some of the examples that come to mind of God showing mercy. The first one is the city of Nineveh. So God hears, he has heard somebody's cried out to him, or there's been a cry out. That the people in the city of Nineveh were very sinful. And so God sends Jonah to preach to the city of Nineveh, hoping that they will turn away from their sin. So rather than punishing them, he sends Jonah to preach, and they turn away from their sin, and God has mercy on them. He doesn't give them what they deserve for their sin, because they come back to him. The second example is a different ending, Sodom and Gomorrah. We know basically it's a similar story. A cry reaches out to God, and God sends these three men down to check on the city. But before he does, they go by Abraham, and basically Abraham pleads with God to not destroy the city if he can find 10 righteous people. And so God agrees. He says, I will have mercy on the entire city and surrounding areas if there are 10 righteous people. And we know that that ends. There are not 10 righteous people in the city. So God gets Lot and his family out of there. The next example or examples for me are the Israelites. We all know the Israelites, as they journeyed to the Promised Land, were not the most faithful people. One of the examples is when Moses went up on the mountain to get the law. And he came back down, and they were already, after just a few weeks, they had created an idol and were worshiping an idol. It did not take long at all for them to turn away from God. But, of course, Moses talked to them and preached to them, and they turned back to God, and God still led them on their way to the Promised Land. And then again in Moab. When you look at the example of Moab, where they also get caught up in the sins, worshiping the idols of the Moabites, and the men were sleeping with the Moabite women. Yes, there were 24,000 that died in the plague, but God still had mercy on the Israelites, because in the eyes of God, they were all guilty for letting their brothers and sisters, their sons, their daughters, their family get caught up in this sin. It's something that if the Israelites were faithful to God, and if they were serving God and looking out for the best interest of their fellow Israelites, when that first or second one tried to do this, they would have brought them back in, but that didn't happen. And so it grew to up to 24,000 people that died in that plague. Any other examples of mercy you can think of in the Bible? I gave the Old Testament. Any examples in the New Testament you can think of?
All the time, Jesus healed people.
So Jesus in his healing, when Jesus would heal people, showing mercy on them by giving them physical healing.
Jesus is the one that well, the Jew was even spoken to her, yet he made an outreach there to the people of Samaria.
Okay.
Also, the woman caught in adultery is a good example of what's that?
So we see in the New Testament, Jesus doesn't just preach about it. He doesn't just talk about it, which we like to do a lot of times, right? We see examples where Jesus actually shows mercy to those that he comes in contact with.
Even at the very end, it says you forget it and they put all what they do. Showing mercy to those that are in prison.
Good example. Any others? So verse 8, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So what is the pure in heart? What does that mean to you? To me it means it's all about honesty, about noble character. So I was talking to Lindsay about the lesson this morning, and I said I'm going to give Evan as an example. So the little kid is mean as a snake, but he's honest as can be. If you ask him if he's going to be nice, if he's not going to be nice, he'll tell you no. Or if you ask him, who made this mess? If it was Brooke, he'll tell you Brooke. If it was Emma, he'll tell you Emma. And if it was him, he'll say me. So this morning even, he was throwing things. So he found change, and he threw money at Brooke and hit her in the hand and hurt her real bad. And so he knew he was in trouble. So he ran around behind my recliner. And I went and pulled him out. Before I spanked him, I said, did you throw money at Brooke? He said, yes. I said, what should Daddy do? He said, spank me. So he's honest as can be. So Jesus says, blessed are the pure in heart, they will see God. So blessed are those who have noble character. Blessed are those who are honest. Personally, the examples for me, other than Evan, as honest as he is, are things that I've seen at work in the last couple of years. A lot of people that I've seen that are out for themselves, Their intentions don't come out. They show one side to one person or one group of people, and then they turn around and say something to somebody else. And the bottom line is they're looking out for themselves. They only want what's best for them and their pocketbook. They don't want what's best for the company. They don't want what's best for other people. And they have no issue just throwing people on the bus. Another example comes from my lesson last Sunday night. We talked about Abraham. The sacrifice of Isaac, when Abraham went and took his son to sacrifice him, that was showing that he was pure in heart. That was showing God his character, that he was going to do whatever it took to follow God and do what God said.
But if you look at the opposite of that, it's fairly, while it's a little hard to define pure, if you look at impure, then we can think of all kinds of things and all the different things that well, examples that you've given that were unimpure, just involved in any of the number of ways, and pure is keeping away from those, just living your life as close to God as you do as you can.
Any other thoughts?
During heart is just really, really trying. Doesn't mean you don't mess up occasionally. It would hinder things, but your heart is
Your intentions are true. And it brings to mind me one of my favorite passages, Philippians 4, verses 8 through 9. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. It says, being pure of heart is striving to always do these things. It's striving to always do what you know is right.
To me, your heart is not what your state of mind. And keeping your mind pure is always you really have to have the example of God's love. I mean, that's a hard thing.
Anybody else have thoughts? Verse 9 says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. So peacemakers, this is something that our country needs right now. We have so much tension between one side and the other. Our country's split 50-50 basically, and everybody at each other. So as Christians, it's our job to be peacemakers. It's our job to help people understand that whatever the issue is at hand, either way, somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong, but life will still go on. And God is still in control. That's our job, is to not only be peacemakers, but to go a step further and teach the world, teach others about Christ, and teach them about why as Christians we have that peace.
That's the difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper.
Right.
A peacekeeper would just be quiet and let it go on. Peacemaker tries to speak the truth in love.
Verse 10, he says, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So when this was written, during the time that this was written, persecution was something that was very different than what it is today, although we're getting a little bit closer to what it was. But persecution was hateful remarks, people shouting at you in the streets. It was throwing stones at you. It was being killed for being a Christian, being a follower of Christ. It's not quite that bad today, but it deals with persecution because you're doing the right thing. The next verse talks about Christ, but this is persecution because you're standing up for what is right, whether it's about God or whatever it is, something in society. If you take a stand for something and are persecuted for that, that's what he's talking about. One of the terms our world uses is goody two shoes. So if you're a goody two shoes, you're standing up for what's right, you're not going and doing things that are wrong. Jesus is saying that you will be blessed. You will be happy in the long run for that, and yours will be the kingdom of heaven. Then the next verse, verse 11, he says, "Blessed are you when they revile you and persecute you, and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake." And so this is, again, back in that time, it was common practice for people to, as I talked about earlier, throw people in the bus. It was common practice for them to shout out things that were not true just because they didn't like Christians. They didn't believe what they were teaching, and they wanted them to go to jail. They wanted them to be killed. And so in that time, he was saying, "Blessed are those who persecute you. Blessed are you when you are persecuted." And others do that in my name because of me. So this is talking about standing up for Jesus. This is something that I think is really difficult, even in our world today. Even though our country is still a Christian nation, there's enough out there that makes you hesitant, or at least it makes me hesitant to talk about Christ to others, to talk about God out in the workplace or wherever we might be. So Jesus is saying, if you'll stand up for me, if you'll talk about me, if you'll share my name with others, whether they listen to you, care about it or not, blessed are you for that. Any other thoughts on that? So for me, the question I have down here is, when's the last time you were even persecuted for Christ? And then the second question is, have you even given anybody a chance to persecute you in the name of Christ? Has that opportunity even arisen?
That opportunity comes up pretty often. I was struck down today this morning before I come in. I drive a truck, pass out a lot of Christian CDs. A lot of people are worth more about their jobs than they are their spiritual life. A lot of people afraid to take that chance. They just take a chance, whole life.
Okay. Anybody else?
Think of Chick-fil-A or Hobby Lobby who took a stand, and I hope it hasn't hurt their business. But I think we continue to support people like that. We should share that information with one another to support those who are standing, you might say, for us in their beliefs.
Good example. Yeah, Chick-fil-A took a stand. And I agree. I don't think their business is hurt whatsoever. I think Christians got together, actually went to Chick-fil-A more often for a while, and then still visit Chick-fil-A. Any other thoughts or examples? And the last verse, verse 12. "Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Maddie's rejoicing. So rejoice and be glad. Not rejoice and be glad because of what happens to you on this earth, but rejoice and be glad because of the reward that you're going to get in heaven for living the life, living your life with these qualities, with these attitudes that Christ is telling us about. Rejoice and be glad, whether the result here on earth is good or bad. Rejoice that you were able to do that. Again, back to my favorite passage, Philippians 4, just verses 4 and 7. "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." So if you kind of put all these things together, Christ is telling us, have all these attitudes, do all these things. All these things will make you happy in the long run, not in the immediate. And then rejoice in God for these things. And the result of that is, as we see in Philippians 4:7, if it is something that's bad, if it is a negative reaction, the result is still you have that with God that passes all understanding. And that's something that unless you felt it, you just can't understand what that is. But if you rejoice in God, that peace will come over you and will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ.
Peter, several apostles, like Paul and Thomas, when they were in prison and beaten and different things, they said it says that they rejoiced because they were counted worthy enough to bear the persecutions for Christ.
That's all I have for the lessons. Anybody have any other thoughts before we close? So the Lord of prayer. Father God, again we come to you thanking you for your word. take what Jesus taught, Lord, and we can live with these qualities. We can live our lives doing what Jesus told us, with the attitude that He laid out for us, God. Pray that You will help us to have that heart, Lord, where we want to rejoice in everything. We want to rejoice with You in the good times and in the bad times. Lord, we lift up to You those that are having bad times right now, Lord, those who are in sorrow, those who are having health issues, God. We pray that You will give them that peace, that You will give them comfort, Lord, and You will give them healing where healing is needed. God, we pray that as we go into this next hour of worship, Lord, that You will help us to focus our hearts and minds on You and look to You to learn more about You and come before You in worship. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.